is recurring content.
Ooh.
This is what we're doing here right now, right? You're creating 4 podcast episodes a week. You have a much bigger audience than a lot of these people are running for political office, who should probably have much bigger audiences because they're trying to get tens of thousands or 100,000 people to vote for them. So you got to have some kind of recurring content. So now once you have your 1 or 2 categories you're focusing on, now over deliver value on those categories. That's
Can I pause for a second and just note that we got Brian on here who's getting Congressman Massey on, and our typical lineup includes like homeless people that believe in Bigfoot.
Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show, your source for common sense politics on the We Are Libertarians network. The Brian Nichols Show is the fastest growing liberty podcast that brings together people from all means of political thought as we seek to have meaningful conversations about the issues you care about. At the Brian Nichols Show, our goal is to leave the audience educated, enlightened, and informed. And now your host, Brian Nichols.
Well, happy Sunday there, folks. For you YouTube listener, that is. But for you Monday traditional audio listener, yes, it's Monday morning, and you're here on today's episode of the Brian Nichols Show, doing things different. And I teased this back on Sunday. We are going ahead and, of course, our Sunday episode was with Jim Tasome. He's running for state senate out in New Jersey in the legislative district 39. So if you didn't check out our Sunday candidate highlight series, head back there. But no, onto the show today, because we're already onto the show. We have a returning guest, and now he is a part of the team here at the Brian Nichols Show. And going from behind the scenes to on the mic on the regular, Chris Goyzueta. He is our marketing extraordinaire. Now, Chris, we've done the bio. We've had you on the show before, and you were just a guest at the time talking about your experience of marketing in the music industry. But you're joining the network, and you're joining the program as a marketing voice, a marketing expert. And I mean, goodness, you teach this stuff in college, right? So this is not something that you're just like guessing. You know what you're talking about. So I dare say from we've been doing a pretty good job. So hey, talk to us really quick though, right, Chris? Well, here, how about this? Welcome back to the show, and thank you for joining us on the inaugural episode of you being on the show, the regular. We're doing a marketing and sales conversation, yourself, and then Jeremy Todd, who was just in the show here last week, joining us on the regular talking about sales. So how about this, Chris? Let's kind of do a quick recap for the folks who maybe didn't catch you back when you first joined the program. I think it was right there when we were doing video. Talk to us. How have things been, and what's going on in the Chris Goyzueta world?
Man, things been going great. It's been really fun working with you. I mean, we really hit it off that first conversation, and just been brainstorming and working our butts off to really come with some really great ideas on how to really promote and expand liberty, and especially as libertarian candidates. Right, back when I talked to you last time, I was kind of venting how there's so many great candidates out there with so many great ideas and good speakers, but just could do much more when it comes to marketing and branding themselves. Yep. So I want to take a rock and roll approach. There's a certain way that the other guys do it, the Democrats and the Republicans, and they have millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in their campaigns, and it's hard to compete against that if you are following that same system and platform. Right. So we're going to be a punk rock of politics, which the Libertarians are anyway. So we're going to bring rock and roll back, and it's going to be through the Libertarian Party.
I like that, and this is the approach we're taking here at the show. I mean, we've been going through this grassroots approach and using the tips, the tricks that you've used in your professional career and what you're teaching to your students, and we're using it for the show. We're seeing the success behind the scenes, and this is why we're like, okay, this is why we need to teach this to the greater liberty world, because this is something we're not paying attention to, and the other two parties are. And even if they're not going the route of what we're doing, right, actually meeting people where they're at, they're just tossing millions of dollars, getting as much data as possible that they can get their hands on, and then trying to craft a message that will best fit whatever that data says it should fit. Right. But if we're actually going out there and talking to people and seeing firsthand what they're experiencing, actually, you know what? Here, we'll start here, Chris, because there's a great movie that just came out, and the name escapes me, but it's a Jon Stewart movie. Okay. You know what it was? It's Hometown. I think it's called Hometown.
Hometown. I haven't heard of that.
I believe it's called Hometown, and I'm probably wrong, but anyways, the movie, you can look it up. It stars Steve Carell, and basically the premise of the movie is that there is this a military, I forget, military colonel or something, but he makes this very impassionate speech in a city council meeting, And in him making this impassionate speech, he is I think he's a Republican, or he's unaffiliated. There we go. He's unaffiliated, but he comes across to this very conservative area with a progressive message that is very resonating to their values. The Democratic Party sees an opportunity to win this seat in Congress and get this guy to run for office. They pump millions and millions and millions of dollars into it. And one of the subplots, I'm not giving anything away in the movie, but there's one part where they're doing data research and they're targeting this one specific area. And they're like, wait, why are these people so mad at us? And they're like, well, we just targeted, they're single women and they don't have kids. So we targeted them with, we thought would be a pro-choice message that they would like. And he's like, they don't have kids and they're single because they're nuns. They're not going to have kids if they're nuns. But you think a pro-choice message is gonna resonate to them? And I mean, obviously there's more data points that people look for, but that speaks to, if you're just going on data alone and the raw numbers, you're missing a lot. And that's why I think your approach, Chris, is going to be so important, because it is taking what has worked when you don't have the oceans of resources that these large entities do, to actually get a foot in the door, get a name for yourself, and build up that brand, which leads us to what we want to talk about today, right? And that's branding. So let's kind of start from there. What can we kind of take away from all that, extrapolate back for us, Chris? I'll defer to you.
Well, it's funny because I took some notes. So I have 8 tips on simplifying branding for libertarian candidates. And we did not plan this out. You have not seen my notes, but the story you just told is a perfect segue to tip number 1, right? Is get to know your audience. Tony Robbins has this really great quote where he says, don't fall in love with your product, right? So don't fall in love with what you're selling. Like, there might be certain issues and topics that you're passionate about and that you feel is the best approach for the area you're running for.
Don't believe your own press releases, Chris.
Exactly. But it's like, you got to fall in love with your audience, not your product. So if you get to know the people in your community, in your district, in your state, like wherever you're running, the people that you're representing that are voting for you, I think what a lot of politicians forget is because they're so focused on party politics. Like I always feel like that the Democrats and Republicans are always putting their parties in front of the people. And that's frustrating people, right? I just really saw a really cool poll the other day that 62% of America wants a third choice. Wow. And the third options just need to learn how to talk to them directly. So, we're both reading the book Undefeated Marketing by Philip Stutz. And one of the things he talks about as his first steps is surveying your audience. So getting to know your audience. So it starts with serving the people in the district or area that you're running in, and try to get as many as possible. Bare minimum statistics is a sample size of 50, but I think that's not good enough in politics. If you can survey a few thousand people from all ages and both genders, that's so controversial to say that, right?
And we're banned.
And we're banned. But it's just have a diverse group of people yet you're surveying, and that's how you're really going to get to know your area. So that'd be tip number 1: get to know your audience.
So get to know your audience. Now, it sounds pretty easy to just say, well, you need to get to know your audience, right? Yeah, get to out, surveying your audience, but let's take it a step further, right? I think also beyond just getting to know your audience, but actually incorporating your audience into what you're offering, right? Get their stories out there.
Yep.
We talk about this all the time behind the scenes, right? Talking about sharing stories, and we talk about the great stories we hear that are getting people to say, ooh, I like that. Tell me more. I want to learn more. And if you can take your customer, your audience, who and what makes them tick, what not just moves them, but what actually drives them to make a decision, a buying decision. That's going to be the main thing. In this case, what's the thing they're buying? It's the candidate. Right. It's the person we're selling, and not just the ideas. I think that's what we need to make sure we're paying attention to as well. We think the ideas win alone. They don't. Ideas aren't going to win alone. No. We need to have the right people being communicators of those ideas. There's a reason Ron Paul hit the moment of his time at the moment he did and had such a connection with people. There was the authenticity and the consistency that people were craving, and they saw, especially the younger generation, despite his age, this man speaking to the problems that were going to be impacting them directly and speaking to the root of those problems. And it was at the point where you have one of the largest at that point recessions since the Great Depression in the Great Recession. And was he talking about ending the Federal Reserve, talking about the housing crisis and how it was the U.S. monetary policy that actually caused this, and showing Liberty solutions. And that was his brand, right? He was the really going out there and identifying the problems and consistently not only identifying them, but offering what would be the right solutions. And then we can look back, here we are in 2021, Chris, and we can look at a video from him in 1987, and he's saying something that we could play today, and it would be 100% as true as it was then.
Yeah. And one thing you just mentioned, it's funny, it's if we had planned this, we didn't plan this at all. So you were talking about authenticity, right? So that's where I call tip number 2, humanizing the brand. So finding things about yourself, like the person, where you can build a connection with your community. So an example of someone that does this really, really well is The Rock. If you go through his Instagram channel, it's behind the scenes of acting, it's making tequila, it's giving back to the community, it's wrestling, it's having epic cheat meals and crazy workouts, right? That's his brand. So those are 6 different things that make up who he is. So if you were to put that in what's called a topic wheel, right? So you have a wheel, so you're in the center, and then you draw out 6 different categories of your topic wheel, or some people might call this brand pillars, right? So these 6 topics are your brand pillars. So what are, outside of running as a candidate, outside of politics, what are 6 things about you that make you interesting, that consumes your everyday, that are your hobbies, right? That you're doing around your job or around your campaign, or maybe your job is now part of your brand because that's something outside of the campaign brand that you're building. So really focus on creating content also around those topics. So when you're posting pictures on Instagram, or you're posting on Twitter, or whatever social media platform you are on, focus on those brand pillars as well. So it's not just politics, but people actually get to know the person behind the politics and brand.
I go full screen. So for the YouTube watcher, you can see I have right over here in my left shoulder, I got good old Michael Scott, because I'm a huge Office fan, right? I incorporate The Office into a bajillion things I do. Star Wars, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I like to work out, so I like to talk about that side of myself, and I'll talk about my epic leg days where I literally had trouble getting up the stairs. So when you have a leg day where you feel like Bambi, you know that it was a really good leg day. It was a sumo squats. So I do. So here, I'm not even giving a free plug to Team Beachbody, but I do the Team Beachbody workouts with it's Sagi Khalif. He was former Mr. Israel.
Oh yeah, it's just bodybuilder.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just easier doing it with the at-home workouts in an era of COVID, because otherwise I hate wearing a mask to begin with, and wearing a mask in here, by the way, Philadelphia has been just a nightmare the entirety of COVID. Like no masks, or I mean, rather masks. Right? Yeah, masks everywhere. There was no situation really where a mask was just like, oh yeah, you don't have to wear your mask in the gym. Like they would have to make sure that you wore your mask because that was the rules, and they would actually like go out of their way to make sure they'd make a living nightmare for these business owners who wouldn't abide by it. But anyways, I'm doing these workouts at home, and yeah, one of the workouts was these ones where you're supposed to use cable machines, and I didn't have a cable machine, obviously, in my downstairs basement. So I'm improvising using these Bowflex adjustable weights, and I was using a 50-pound dumbbell, and he was using like a 25-pound dumbbell or a 25-pound cable to start out. And I was thinking like, oh, okay, like yeah, we'll upgrade. We'll get to there. We didn't. He just kept on using his 25, and I was using my 52.5-pound dumbbell. And at that point, my inner legs were shaking and dying. But anyways, for folks who are looking for a great workout, I cannot recommend Team Beachbody enough. And also, my wife's a coach, so if you're interested, give me a shout. I can hook you up. By the way,
and might have to get back on insanity.
Yeah, hey, Sean T. I say he is insane because he is insane. He's like 50 years old, I think it is, somewhere in there, and he looks like he's like 20. Like the dude is jacked. But anyways, that was talking about humanizing our brand, Chris, and making yourself real. I think people, if anything, I am to a fault, just across the board authentic. I'm me, for better or for worse. My coworkers in my day job absolutely will go crazy. I'll come into the just absolute energy at 8 in the morning, and that's because I've been up since 5 working out. So like, I'm tweeting in the morning about my morning workout. I'm talking to you throughout the day about sales and marketing, and I'm tweeting about sales and marketing. I'm passionate about that kind of stuff. So, and that's beyond the politics stuff. So how about this? Beyond humanizing the brand, making yourself more than just, whatever it is that you're trying to promote or sell. What else would you say are some of these marketing tips that folks should be taking away?
So tip number 3 for building a powerful brand is becoming a leader of a category. So, when you think of cola, what's the first thing you probably think of? Coca-Cola. If you think of search engines, what's the first search engine you think of? Probably Google. Hopefully soon DuckDuckGo. But if you if you think,
I tried to get the CEO on the show, and I talked to their leadership, and they politely declined for the time being.
What?
So we're gonna get there. I know, but it was a year and a half ago. We'll see what happens again.
maybe reach out to the Brave people.
Yeah.
Brave browser. So when you think of browsers, what's the first thing you think of, right? Google Chrome. But
that's right.
You have things like Brave. So when you think of, like, let's say political candidates, Andrew Yang, universal basic income,
yep.
Bernie Sanders, free healthcare for all, right? Ron DeSantis, I kind of wanted to throw a Republican candidate in there, but anti-lockdowns, right? Anti-shutting down small business or business in general and shutting down their state. So become a leader of a category. So find, of all the issues that you now surveyed people on, find 1 or 2 issues that you laser focus on. So it's okay to have all the issues as part of your platform, but have 1 or 2. So the second people think of your name, they know, oh, this guy's fighting for that. I'm with him or with her, right? So become a leader of a category. And the music example, I like to throw in some music examples, but behind me you see what's this? I'm blanking on the song. The hip hop, hip to the hip. But
yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Sugar Hill Gang.
My audience, they're all screaming like, guys, it's this song. Yep.
Sugar Hill Gang. But if you think of hip hop, who is the first, right? Sometimes the first person in a category is the leader, but most people don't know in hip hop, African Bambaataa and DJ Kool Herc were the first, but the leader in the category became Grandmaster Flash. So just because someone is already using a category doesn't mean you can't become a leader. Have a unique twist and unique spin. MySpace, yeah.
Where'd they go?
Where'd they go? Yeah, they're first. But have just a unique way of making yourself different within that category.
Let's just keep going along because we're already at 16 minutes here, and we'd like to talk, Chris. So what would you say is number 4 of your 8 tips?
Number 4 is recurring content. So what we're doing here right now, right? You're creating 4 podcast episodes a week. You have a much, much bigger audience than a lot of these people are running for political office, who should probably have much, much bigger audiences because they're trying to get tens of thousands or 100,000 people to vote for them. So you got to have some kind of recurring content. So now once you have your 1 or 2 categories you're focusing on, now over deliver value on those categories. That's what Tim Ferriss always talks about. So over delivering your 1 or 2 values to your core audience. And you do that through content. So by starting a podcast, by having a YouTube channel, by going live on Instagram, or putting up 1-minute TikTok videos every day, right? Whatever your platform is and where your audience is, over deliver quality content on those platforms.
Yep. And what have we been doing here, folks? I mean, goodness, we have, 4 episodes a week. So we're meeting with a candidate every single week, doing an overview of what they're doing and what they're focusing on to help meet the voters in their respective districts. Number 1. Number 2, we have 3 conversations every single week, 2 of which are conversations with experts in their industries or their respective fields of expertise. I guess that's kind of redundant, but oh well. And then obviously the reoccurring segments now going forward with you and Jeremy talking about sales and marketing. We have the ebook talking about 4 easy ways to, easy tips to implement to help sell liberty to friends and family, which, of course, if you are interested, folks, you can head over to briannicholsshow.com/Liberty Friends ebook. Just, shameless plug there. And then, yes, of course, we have the YouTube, adding different series that we're going to be doing. And then the behind the scenes Patreon, we have a ton of content we'll be doing there, and helping, build up sales acumen. So to that point, Chris, it is imperative to over deliver on the content, to make sure that, not only are you over delivering, but it is good stuff too. Don't just put fluff out there, but actually give things that are valuable, because at the end of the day, you want to not just be the person that's spam. You want to be the person that's offering value, something that they can take away and tangibly use. Number 5 for your branding tips, Mr. Goyzueta.
So with the ebook, every YouTube video, if you guys are watching on YouTube, has the link to the ebook in the description. So just look down there, and you'll find the link to it. But number 5, speaking to quality, right? So but we're going to reach quality with quantity. So quantity is quality as well. And I'm not saying just put out a crap video all the time, but let me start with the quantity piece first. If you go on someone's YouTube channel or podcast platform, whatever it is, and you're seeing hundreds of episodes or thousands of episodes, that's quality, right? Because you've put in a lot of work into putting out content on a specific topic. So it's really important not to get precious and let perfectionism hold you back from putting out content. So quality is important, but if you're sacrificing perfectionism because of quality, then you're hurting yourself, right? So endless amounts of quantity, and as Brian and I talk about, we get 1% better every time. So Brian added some lighting. First there was no video, then we added video to the podcast. It's pretty much overnight. Then we're like, all right, let's get a little bit of a better light for the podcast. I think you got something else new, maybe a microphone or something. But
check this out. Ready?
Check this out.
Oh yeah, I can go different colors. That's right.
You can have different colors. It makes a difference.
It does.
Yeah. So just better light. So you start off with your iPhone, right? And then when you buy a nice...
By the way, that was great audio. That was great audio for the audience. They're like, what are they doing? I was flipping through the colors that my different lights go through, guys. So if you want to see it, you got to go to the YouTube.
You got to go to YouTube. But, start off with an iPhone. Then you upgrade to an HD webcam for $60. Then you buy one of those ring lights. And then you buy a better microphone. But little steps up each time to improve the quality of the quantity. And the more times you're in there editing video, or you have someone editing video for you, they're going to get better and faster at editing video. So even there, that's where we're getting 1% better every time with quantity.
Think about it like this. I played football, and one of the things we do in football, and anybody who played any sport for that matter can empathize with this, is and truly relate to it, is going through practices and just going through drills repeatedly, non-stop, especially in the part of the practices where you're implementing. In my case, I was from a very, very small school. I actually played for a neighboring school because my school didn't have a football team. So I played for a neighboring school's football team of a total of 17 players. So you had to learn offense and defense. And when you had to install the offense and defense, you would go out and you would literally run the same thing over and over and over. And then when you're done with that, and over again after that, because it was imperative to make sure that you got the basics down, that it wasn't a matter of when the time came that the guy, if you were playing an offensive line, that the left end was able to do a spin move around you with a really cool maneuver, that he caught you off guard, that you all of a sudden were taken aback from your footwork, because your footwork was so perfect, because in those fundamental applications of getting your footwork installed in the offense, that you don't have to think about that. It's just muscle memory. So the same
in those
thing
reps in.
Exactly. Get the reps in. If you're going to the gym, it's going to hurt the first little bit. It's supposed to hurt the first little bit. But that's the point, is that once you start to get your reps in, you get better, you get stronger. The reps no longer are as painful. They're no longer are as difficult. And suddenly you can do more reps, or you can lift heavier weights. And that means you can push yourself beyond where you were before. And I mean, candidly, that goes into when we're talking about sales. I mean, I know we're not talking about sales here today, but when we're focusing on sales, that's partly of building that reality gap and helping show that what you're offering as a solution will solve that reality gap, bringing them from point A to point B. And that's why it is important to focus on constantly building up quality and quantity, to your point there, Mr. Goyzueta. How about step 6 to your simplified branding tips for libertarian candidates?
Collaboration is the next one. So a few different audiences or few different types of collaborations you can have, right? So first is with your local community. If you're running in a district or in a state, wherever you're running for, interview people, talk to people in that community, right? So not just talk to them in person, but if you're doing a podcast or you're doing a YouTube channel, then record those conversations and maybe make it more of an interview style, but figure out what are the issues that are local businesses and local people are dealing with, right? So it's not just businesses, but
some may even say the issues that people care about.
The issues that people care about, yeah. So talk to a parent, right? So talk to a parent about their kids in school. How is public school? What would they want to fix about public school in their area? Talk to maybe a union. I don't know if we want to talk to unions these days, but
as long as they're willing to not just bully and berate their union employees who want to get out and not be a part of it by force. That minor details.
Yeah, but talk to businesses and organizations and individuals in your community and showcase them. And then now you're showcasing your community, and now local smoke shop knows, oh wow, Brian really cares about me, and he really knows what my issues are with with the government, like how they make my job harder and make me doing business harder, right? Maybe talk to a person that braids hair under the table for their family and friends, and how they can't get a license because the license in your state is too expensive, and the state is really holding them back from starting a business. So talk to your local community. Of course, talk to people within the Liberty movement, right? If you are going to start a podcast or YouTube channel with your campaign, then win over the Libertarian Party, because as you guys know, we have NOTA on the ballot, and you don't want to lose the NOTA, so you make sure you win over your own party first, and then branch out a little bit outside of your
burn. By the way, burn. I love it. That's a nice little burn.
So, and then branch out outside of politics and your local community by looking at your topic.
I'm stuck on that. Like 90% of the people are like, "What?" and like 10% of the people are like, "Ha!" That's great. Sorry, just keep going. And if you're curious, just look up NOTA and you'll figure it out. Go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
It's all good. And then I got me blanking. And I go back to your topic wheel and look at what the things are that humanize your brand, and have conversations on those topics as well. And that's how you really, really expand your network beyond just the libertarians, beyond your community, right? And then if you are, and the topic, you will kind of leverage that to reach a bigger audience, right? So if I know pro wrestling is in your topic, you will, and you're going to have a conversation with Glenn Jacobs, Kane.
There you go.
And now reach like the pro wrestling audience, like on a national scale, and then they bring it back locally to you. That's full circle of really building up your brand and your audience.
And that's kind of how the libertarian podcasting world has become what it is. And let's be real, all right? Like, let's just set the record straight, because I know there was some confusion in the past. It wasn't really confusion, but I'm just going to make sure we're all on the same page. Libertarian podcasting has infinitely done more for the libertarian movement than anything out there beyond the Ron Paul movement. Hands down, without a question. Next topic, because and I say that so confidently, Chris, because not only do I see our audience reaching tens of thousands of people every single month, I see people like Tom Woods, I see people like Dave Smith, I see people like Mark Claire, I see people like Chris Spangle. Everybody has audiences, and here's the great part: they're not all the same audiences. Yes, there's like overlap, but each individual podcaster in this greater libertarian podcasting world has unique audiences that are kind of becoming masters of whatever it is that libertarian podcaster is focusing on. But this is right here why it's so important to focus on collaboration, because we can become great at doing the things that we do well, the things that we focus on. Like I think our audience is great at selling liberty. I think we have been amazing at doing that. But like, maybe we need to become better at, the facts and the figures, right? Or maybe we need to become better at name whatever it may be, better at the marketing. That's kind of why we've been making sure we're focusing more on marketing here on the show going forward, because I think marketing and sales are BFFs, candidly. So, I think that's where we're going to find more success, to your point, collaborating, building those relationships, and focusing on not just where each other has the strengths, but where we have to recognize our weaknesses, and not feel that when the other organization, the other podcast, the other entities coming to help, that's an attack on your independence. It's rather understanding, hey, we all can't do everything 100%. No single person can do everything at a business themselves. Actually, here's a real story. I was trying to do that for 3 years, basically, here at the show. I was doing, one episode a week. I was trying to market everything. I was trying to literally do everything, do the audio, do the booking of all my guests. And I realized that I was just spinning my wheels in many cases. I needed help. I needed people who were experts in certain areas to come in and help me grow and let me focus on the things that are high performance action items I can do every single day, like building more content, doing more podcasts, going on more shows, right? And then having an awesome team behind the scenes, like you helping with marketing, like Frankie helping behind the scenes, like having Hunter with graphics, having Bill helping with audio, Chris, the other Chris, helping us get guests and helping me get on shows, so on and so forth. We have an amazing team of folks who are helping us. And it's so important for me to take a step back and just say, that's the secret sauce, is not having to do everything
Yeah.
alone. So I say all that. Let's go to step 7 here, Mr. Goyzueta, of your marketing tips here for libertarians.
So the next thing would be consistency. A little bit of redundant of some of the other tips we've already mentioned, but it wasn't like a specific tip. So I just want to make sure that consistency is specific. It makes you reliable, right? But you're always available for your audience. You're always putting stuff out there, whether it's on bare minimum weekly basis. But if you're running for office, once a week is not enough. If you're running for office, it's got to be daily. At least starting January 1st, 2022. If you take the time right now until then to figure out what your content is and what your brand is going to be, fine. But January 1st, daily content.
And by the way, really quick, I'm not picking on any particular candidates, but there are candidates who have been on this very show on the Sunday Candidate Highlight Series. I'm not pointing anybody out, but you need to have a website. You need to have social media, just something to talk to people. You need to have an email. Yes. You need to be able to be looked up by the voters. They can't just be like, oh, there's a guy running. Yeah, exactly. Have a website, and on your website, make it easy for people to sign up for your newsletter. We have the free ebook, right, with the 4 tips on selling liberty to your friends and family. So come up with something to give away for free to your audience on. So you can build that email list, right? So 4 things you can do for you community, or as if you support this candidate, right? Come up with something that's relevant to your brand and community. And one more thing I wanted to say on collaboration, a really good point that you made was there's so many different libertarian podcasts that really help build the liberty movement, and they all kind of have different audiences within the liberty movement, right? So if you're thinking, man, do we really need another podcast or a YouTube channel? Yes, because you're reaching your community, right? Make it super local. If you're running for, let's say District 10 in Orlando, where I'm at, so in Orange County, Orlando, focus the content on that community and how you can lift that community with liberty ideas and liberty principles. So yes, there is space for another podcast or YouTube channel, and that's how our movement has grown so much. Yeah. All right. Number 8, last but not least, Mr. Chris Goyzueta, what would that marketing tip be? So I have a bonus one after the 8. Okay. But it's not directly branding related, but so that's why I made a bonus. 8 plus. Okay. So number 8, we've talked about last time, is just engaging with people on social media. So now that you know who your audience is, right? You know the different people you want to collaborate with. So other people in the liberty movement, people in your community, and then people in your topic wheel. Engage with those people and brands on social media, whatever your platform is. Twitter is a fun platform. It might not be the strongest. Figure out what platform brings you the most leads. And if you're giving away like a free ebook and you're posting it everywhere, let's say you post it on LinkedIn, you post it on Twitter, you post it on Facebook, you post it on Instagram, you're going to see where most of your leads come in from. So even though I, for example, have the most fun on Twitter, most of my leads come from LinkedIn for my music stuff. Whenever I post on there, I get way more signups for my ebook. LinkedIn? No kidding. From LinkedIn, yeah. Wow. But that's for music, it's not like not politics. But for music, still, that's why. I use LinkedIn right for my day job. But your average libertarian is going to hear this and be like, LinkedIn? Yeah, really? Where people talk about their business side, their real stuff besides politics. How about that? Yeah, how about that? Amazing. Right? And as Philip Stutz talks about, as a client he had in Undefeated Marketing that was doing really well on Instagram and wanted to expand on Facebook, and they did some research. And they're like, actually, Pinterest is your number 1 platform, and she was ready to spend millions. And she has this massive business and ready to spend all this money on Facebook. And she built this business not even on her number 1 platform. So imagine now they go to Pinterest and now they are on the number 1 platform where they should be. So figure out what is your number 1 platform and engage with people and brands on that platform. All right, drum roll. Yeah, just like Clark Griswold, right? Christmas tree, getting ready to plug it in the lights. That's the house, rather. That's right, it's the house. Talk to us. What's our bonus there, Chris? So the bonus, this is kind of branding related, but it's definitely very, very campaign related. You have got to become a good public speaker. Yes. Join a Toastmasters group. Toastmasters is super cheap to join. And I've been told friends and family, so some slight bias there, and teachers, that they thought I was a good public speaker. And then I went to a Toastmasters group. Holy shit. That's the pros.
Like, if you think you're a good public speaker, go to a Toastmasters. They are so polished, so quick with thinking about like different ideas. They do this things called table topics, where they basically just draw topics out of a hat, and you have to do a 1 to 2 minute speech on that topic without using filler words. Like,
Dude, it's whose line is it anyway? But for business professionals,
it's so good.
Remember the whose line is it anyway? The scenes from a hat.
Yeah, yeah.
Where's Drew? By the way, Drew Carey's a libertarian. Let's get him on the show. Why not?
Gotta get him on the show. Yeah,
he doesn't really do a lot libertarian-y stuff. I know he did some stuff for Reason, but like, we gotta get our celebrities. We gotta get them talking more. We gotta tell them tell their stories at least. I think that's gonna be huge.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't even interrupt.
It's all good. Another one that's out there is Big Boy from Outkast, which a lot of people actually don't know that he's libertarian, because he doesn't get into politics much on social media, but he's a libertarian.
Wait, hold on. Can I ask you a question? And I don't know if you can answer this, but like, so when you're doing you're working with these musicians, are you working with them like directly at all in any capacity?
I am, but the ones on our management company, yeah.
So,
but we're not working with Outkast.
Right. Well, how about this? Are there any that you worked with that are like, yeah, I'm like super like politically libertarian or liberty leaning, but like I just keep it behind the scenes? Are there any of those like that you know of?
Libertarian?
Maybe.
Yes, actually, yes. Now,
really?
Yeah, he keeps it behind the scenes.
Big names?
Well, the ones I'm working with, big names within their scene, but not really big names on the mainstream. But in their scene, yeah, for sure, they could probably reach some people. And it's because the music industry is just so liberal and so progressive.
See, that's my next question. Like, what can we do to get them to talk and tell people that, like, yeah, I'm not your traditional progressive leftist.
Right. So the thing I want to do, and we've talked about this a little bit, but does there need to be another podcast? Right. I've been itching to start a podcast, but I'm like, okay, how do I make it different from all the other Liberty podcasts out there? And instead of a jam session, I want to call it a Liberty session, where we only talk to musicians and that are libertarians, and kind of maybe start with the ones that are openly out there libertarian, and kind of try to navigate our way through, because I believe that most musicians are libertarian, especially in the hip hop space. I mean, I've worked with so many rappers, and they're all about the hustle, entrepreneurship. Don't take my money, I worked for it. I mean, everything they stand for and their values. And, a lot of them are also conservative. They come from a little more of a conservative background. They go to church on weekends, but they tend to support the liberal parties, like Democratic parties, when really their ideals don't line up with that. And that's what my wife challenged me on when we first met. She used to always say, "You're not a Democrat." I'm like, "You are a liar." I've been a Democrat my entire life. And then she's like, "Well, what do you stand for?" And I gave her a list, and she's like, "Dude, you're such a libertarian."
So did you see, you were talking about Philip Stutz earlier. I was just digging back here because I sent this over to Matt Kibbe. Philip Stutz just had on his program, it was David Meerman Scott. Did I send that to you?
I think so, yeah. The most recent one?
Yeah, I was listening, and I was like, this is so good, because he's talking about two bands in particular, Grateful Dead and Coldplay.
Yep.
And Matt Kibbe, for folks who aren't aware, Matt is a huge Deadhead. Like, Matt loves the Grateful Dead. And when I went to go interview over on his program, it was a great conversation. But like beyond that, just talk like off air, talking about like his passion of the Grateful Dead. I mean, he's a huge fan, and part of it I think goes to there is a rampant libertarian streak to the marketing approach that the Grateful Dead took, and that was really letting the audience help promote them. And I was talking to you, right, about AJR and how AJR is kind of doing the same thing, and they're one of my favorite bands. But like, they're doing the same approach. Slowly but surely, more and more people are kind of word of mouthing this band into existence and into prominence, to the point that I'm watching the New Year's Eve special and I see them on stage doing Bang on New Year's Eve. And I'm like, holy cow, this is the band that, 3 years ago, they had 1 or 2 songs. You'd be like, oh, I know that song. And now they have a hit song playing on New Year's Eve. That's pretty darn exciting. And it shows that, yes, if you were to build and actually go through all 8 plus bonus of these tips. So let's go through them, folks. Again, number 1, get to know your audience. 2, humanize your brand. 3, be a leader of a category. 4, reoccurring content. 5, quality and quantity. 6, collaboration. 7, consistency is key. 8, engaging people on social media and other networks. And bonus, become a good public speaker. Chris, there is
Yes.
so much there. Any other last parting words here for folks this week on the marketing overview for 8 branding tips? Anything you want to make sure folks take away?
Don't get precious and start right now. Today, when we first talked, we talked about starting the YouTube channel, and
I was so nervous, wasn't I?
Yeah, we talked about starting it sometime in the summer. And I'm like, why not now? I mean, because when you interviewed me, we were doing camera, and I was like, you have a camera, you're recording the interview. Like, why not post this interview, and we'll just get better each time as time goes on. So start today. Stop overthinking it. Stop over complicating it. Stop waiting for the perfect gear, the perfect moment, the perfect time. The perfect time is right now. As what is the Rage Against Machine says is, there's no better time than here, no better time than now. Go for it.
Hey, what do we talk about when we're talking about sales, folks? The biggest competitor that we face is the status quo, and the biggest enemy of progress is the status quo. Chris helped sell the sales guy on getting away from the status quo, and I said, yeah, you're right, I'm already recording, let's just do this, let's put this on the internet in video form. And guess what, some episodes have done phenomenally well for a program that has less than 100 subscribers over on YouTube. So how about this? We're wrapping out the show as we do our final plugs. Number one, folks, please do me a solid, head over to wherever it is that you number one, download this every single week, either it's Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it may be. But just go ahead, give us a subscribe. But also, I would greatly appreciate a review. And Chris, we know this, right? Yep. Stories help tell people the value in ideas, right? Mm-hmm. Because you can tell that hero's journey, but it can be short, sweet, and to the point, and just saying, here's what I get and what problem maybe I'm having solved in a show. And I know just from the download numbers, we're seeing it. You guys are getting value. So right now, if you head over to briannicholsshow.com, there's actually a little tab you can hit for reviews. Hit that little tab and you can go ahead, give us a quick 5-star rating and review, and tell folks why you listen to the Brian Nichols Show. And then while you're at it, head over to briannicholsshow.com/Liberty Friends ebook. If you're on the YouTube right now, you can see on the bottom scrolling across, yes, it is 4 steps you can implement now to help sell liberty to friends and family. By the way, Chris, thank you for helping get that book out there to folks.
Absolutely.
And talk to me, right, by the way, as we're wrapping up. Folks are enjoying the book, right? We're getting some good feedback.
Yeah, people are digging the book. I'm digging the book too. I'm trying to implement some of these steps to help sell my friends and family, especially my mom. I feel like my mom is such a libertarian, but she's been a Democrat for, I don't want to give up her age, but for decades. And
a while.
Yeah, and every time we talk, it's like, oh yeah, I see that point. I agree with you. And then whenever she's gone for too long, it's like I got to start all over. So I get a lot of practice with mom.
What do you think? And I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but like, what do you think has been the area that you're finding the most commonalities with your mom in terms of some liberty ideas where you're building the most relationships?
I recently listened to, and I think we talked about this, to a, what's the guy? Larry Sharp. He talked about just like businesses in general, right? To start a business. So she's a massage therapist. And I asked her, I was like, from the license you got from the state, did that make you a better massage therapist? And she said, no, like that taught me nothing. It's just basically a fee that I'm paying to the state. And I'm like, exactly. What is it that makes you such a good massage therapist that has people requesting you over some of the others? And it was her degree and her experience in Germany, how they literally worked on a cadaver, on a human body, to figure out where all the muscles are and everything. And then there's people here that just do the license and they don't even know where the lats are on a human body. So, getting rid of the licensing for careers and implementing maybe certifications or degrees, but also, it's up to the company what certifications, what degrees they want to require. So I don't look like it anymore, but I used to be a personal trainer, and the gym I worked at, it didn't matter which certification you had, as long as you had a certification. And that's a industry that's not regulated. You don't need a license to be a personal trainer. You just need a certificate. And there's some gyms that don't require a certificate and some gyms that only require specific ones. And what a dangerous job, right? You're taking a person that has a heart issue, you're jacking up their heart rate to 150, 160 beats per minute, and then you're supposed to monitor it so they don't have a heart attack while you're training them. But how often is it that you hear someone dying from their personal training session? Never. So licenses are such a scam and such a robbery of the people. And my mom really sees that one. So that's where I think I've sold her the most, for sure.
See, there you go, folks. And these are the stories that we're hearing. These are the conversations people are having, and they're real. And I know you're having them too, whether it's in your immediate circles, whether it's with family and friends right now, whether it's with your coworkers, wherever it may be, though, these are tips that you can implement and you can find common ground and build those bridges and collaborate to actually get some liberty into action. So that being said, follow me on social media at bnicholsliberty, Twitter, Facebook, minds.com, parlor.com. Chris, where can folks follow you?
If you're in the music industry, go to makingitwithchrisg.com if you're a musician. But if it's for the liberty stuff, go to Brian's page. We're going to start doing some cool stuff on Patreon, and we'll start taking some deeper dives into some of the things that we talked about today.
He hits Patreon. That's right. You can head over to our Patreon. Entry-level members, $5 a month. Account executives, $10 a month. Either way, you'll be getting one of these awesome Don't Hurt People, Don't Take People's Stuff bumper sticker. They will pique some interest. I know that for certain. That's right, because I'm dead serious. I was actually just saying this. I was driving back to New York today with my wife, and I said, hey, I'm in Philly, and I'm getting people like giving me these thumbs up about don't hurt people, don't take people's stuff. She's like, do you think they get it? And I'm like, I think they're starting to. I think people are starting to wake up. I think this is a chance, and we're seeing it right now, Chris. People are asking more questions, and it requires us to now start to enter into conversations that are going to be a little uncomfortable, but it requires us to get people to say, can you tell me more? And I think these are great ways for us to get people to tell me more. So if you want to learn more, again, patreon.com/The Brian Nichols Show. Entry level per month, $5. Account level executives, $10 a month. Either way, bumper sticker is coming your way. Ooh, that rhymed. That kind of worked out. Chris, Goyzueta, any last words here for the audience this week?
You're not going to win voters by arguing or debating. It's like Brian always says, meet people where they're at and have conversations.
I love it. And I'm going to leave you with this too. I said this over on Twitter back, I think it was on Friday. That's what it was. I said on Friday, stop debating whether or not the lockdowns worked or not. We know the data is there. They did not work. So, and that's the government lockdowns, right? People were sheltering in place where they were high risk voluntarily before government decided to step in and say, we're going to lock down businesses and say that you can't open, determine who's non-essential and who's essential. So here's what we're going to do instead. Talk to people who have been negatively impacted by the government lockdowns and help reach them where they're at and show that Liberty Solutions would have helped them and will help them from this ever happening again. That is where we're going to have the most success. Chris Goyzueta, thank you for joining us today. 8 branding tips you can take away right now and implement to become a better libertarian and a better libertarian candidate. With that being said, thank you so much, folks, for joining us here on today's episode of The Brian Nichols Show. We're going to have coming up here on Wednesday. He is well, actually, he's not returning from the One Israel Fund, but he is coming from the One Israel Fund, and it is one Mark Provisor, and he is talking about defense measures. He is very creative in defense measures, and he is doing a lot over in Israel right now. So we're going to be talking about that. They're non-violent means to help defend people, both Israelis and Palestinians. So I think it's going to be a great conversation to learn that. So that being said, thanks so much for joining us here on The Brian Nichols Show. Chris Goyzueta, Brian Nichols signing off. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.